The outer rim world of Renvar had been dead for centuries. Its frozen wastes and abandoned Jedi temples made it the perfect hiding spot for smugglers, the desperate, and those who wished to remain unfound. The ice reflected twin moons in perpetual twilight, creating an ethereal landscape of blue-white silence. Nothing disturbed the ancient snow. Nothing had disturbed it in years, until the sky tore open. It wasn't a ship that fell from the heavens. No hyperspace signature registered on any Imperial sensor net. No engine burn lit the atmosphere. Instead, reality simply fractured. A hole in space screamed open above the frozen plains, crackling with energy that was neither hyperspace nor any known technology. Golden light burst through the wound in the universe, and a figure plummeted through, trailing energy that dissipated like steam in the frigid air. Boom! Goku slammed into the ice shelf with enough force to crater the permafrost for 50 meters in every direction. The impact sent spiderweb cracks racing across the frozen surface, and ancient ice that had stood for 10,000 years shattered into glittering fragments. He lay there for a moment, orange jai torn and smoking, dark hair wild against the white ground. His chest heaved as he gasped for air that felt wrong, thin, different. The energy around him felt different too. Not ki, not exactly, but something that pulled at his senses in unfamiliar ways. Kakarot, he'd been shouting when the dimensional rift swallowed him. He'd been using instant transmission during a sparring match with Vegeta, pushing the technique to its limits when something went catastrophically wrong. The familiar sensation of teleportation had twisted, stretched, and then he was falling through a tunnel of stars that weren't his stars, through space that rejected his very existence. Goku pushed himself to his feet, snow crunching beneath his boots. He tried to sense his friends, Vegeta, Gohan, anyone, but there was nothing, no key signatures at all. Instead, his senses registered something else entirely. Millions, maybe billions of life forces, but they felt muted, like trying to listen to a conversation through water. And underneath it all, something vast and ancient hummed through reality itself, touching everything. "Where am I?" he muttered, his breath visible in the Arctic air. The cold didn't bother him much. He'd trained in worse, but the wrongness of this place set his instincts on edge. He was a fighter, had been since childhood, and every combat sense he'd honed through countless battles was screaming that he was very, very far from home. He tried to gather his ki to fly up and get a better view. The energy responded but sluggishly, like pushing through mud. His aura flickered to life, white with hints of gold. But it felt strained, as if the universe itself was slightly incompatible with his power. After several seconds of concentration, he managed to lift off the ground, hovering unsteadily about 10 feet up. "Okay, that's weird," Goku said, frowning. His flight had never been difficult before. It was as natural as breathing, but here it required active focus. He could feel his power, all of it still there. Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan Blue, even the whisper of Ultra Instinct in the back of his mind. But accessing it felt like the universe was charging him tax for every technique. From his vantage point, he could see the frozen wasteland stretching in every direction. In the distance, ancient structures jutted from the ice like broken teeth, temples maybe, or ruins of some long-dead civilization. And beyond that, just barely visible on the horizon, lights, artificial lights, civilization. Before he could decide which direction to head, his senses flared with warning. Something was coming, fast, multiple somethings actually. moving through the sky with the distinctive hum of mechanical propulsion. Goku's eyes narrowed as three angular ships screamed over the horizon, their dark hulls marked with symbols he didn't recognize. They looked aggressive, all sharp edges and weapon emplacements. The ships slowed as they approached, taking up positions around him in a triangle formation. Goku waved, smiling despite his confusion. "Hey, boy, am I glad to see someone. I'm kind of lost," and red laser fire lit up the frozen wastes. Goku's combat instincts kicked in before conscious thought. He vanished in a burst of speed, after images trailing behind him as blaster bolts carved through the space where he'd been standing. The ice shelf exploded in superheated steam. More fire tracked him as he moved, the ships adjusting their aim with mechanical precision. "Whoa! Whoa!" Goku shouted, dodging a barrage that would have vaporized a mountain. "I'm not here to fight, I just—" Another volley forced him to twist midair, energy bolts passing close enough that he felt their heat. His expression shifted from friendly confusion to serious focus. These people weren't interested in talking. One of the ships vectored in, and Goku could see into its cockpit now. A figure in white armor, face hidden behind a helmet, operating controls with efficient violence. The words Imperial Patrol meant nothing to him, but their intent was crystal clear. "Okay," Goku said, his voice dropping into the calm tone he used when things got serious. "If you're not going to listen." He raised two fingers to his forehead, trying to use instant transmission to teleport away. The technique sputtered, energy gathering but refusing to complete the jump. Whatever was wrong with his ki in this place, it was affecting his more complex techniques too. The ships opened fire with everything they had: turbo lasers, missiles, concentrated blaster fire, converging on the single target hovering above the ice. The bombardment was designed to obliterate a small building. It was enough firepower to slag a light freighter. Goku crossed his arms in front of his face and let his aura flare properly this time, pushing through the dimensional resistance with sheer willpower. Kraka boom! White energy exploded around him like a shield, and the weapon's fire detonated against his ki barrier in a spectacular light show. Snow vaporized for 100 meters in every direction. The ice shelf cracked with a sound like thunder. When the smoke cleared, Goku floated in the center of a perfectly circular crater of exposed permafrost, completely unharmed. His GI was smoking slightly, but he wasn't even breathing hard. The Imperial pilots froze. Their targeting computers didn't understand what they were seeing. Sensors registered no armor, no shield generator, no technology at all. Just a human or humanoid standing in the middle of an attack that should have atomized him. "I really don't want to hurt you guys," Goku called out, his voice carrying across the frozen waste. "But you're not giving me much choice here." The lead TIE fighter pilot's voice crackled over comms. "This is Patrol 77. Target is unharmed. Repeat, target survived direct hit from full payload. Requesting..." Goku moved. One moment he was in the crater. The next, he was beside the lead fighter, moving so fast that the ship's sensors registered him as appearing rather than approaching. He tapped the hull. Just tapped it, pulling his punch with the control of someone who'd learned the hard way how fragile some things were. But even that gentle tap from someone who'd traded blows with gods sent the TIE fighter spinning out of control, systems shrieking warnings as it spiraled toward the ice. Goku caught it before it crashed, hands gripping the hull, his aura flaring as he slowed its descent and set it down with surprising gentleness. Through the viewport, he could see the pilot staring at him in absolute terror. "See?" Goku said, smiling. "No one has to get hurt." Then his instincts screamed another warning, and he looked up to see the other two fighters fleeing at maximum speed, their engines burning white-hot as they raced for orbit. He let them go. Fighting people who were running away wasn't his style. But as Goku stood there on the frozen world next to an Imperial TIE fighter whose pilot was too shocked to move, he realized something important. Wherever he was, whatever this place was, it was going to be a lot more complicated than he'd hoped. Somewhere in the galaxy, in a meditation chamber aboard a massive star destroyer, Darth Vader opened his eyes. He had felt something, a disturbance in the Force, but unlike any he had experienced before. Not light, not dark, not even neutral. It was as if something had entered the galaxy that the Force itself didn't quite recognize. A hole in the pattern, a variable the Emperor had not foreseen. Vader's mechanical breathing filled the chamber, steady and inevitable. "What are you?" he whispered to the void. And far away, on a hidden base, a young man named Luke Skywalker shivered despite the warmth of the Rebel Command Center, sensing ripples in the Force he didn't yet understand. The galaxy had just become a very different place. Crimson Hunters. The Imperial pilot sat frozen in his cockpit, hands trembling on controls that no longer responded. Through the cracked viewport, he watched the strange warrior examine the TIE fighter with genuine curiosity, running his hand along the solar panel array like a child discovering a new toy. Commander Jace Tarvin had been flying Imperial patrols for 6 years. He'd strafed Rebel positions, escorted Star Destroyers, and once even provided air support during an Inquisitor operation. He'd seen combat droids, Wookiee berserkers, and even a rogue Jedi who'd carved through a squad before being put down. He had never seen anything like this. "Command, this is Patrol 77, Tarvin whispered into his comm, praying the strange man outside couldn't hear him. "Target is, I don't know what target is. Humanoid. No visible weapons, no armor. Survived direct assault and disabled my fighter with his bare hands. Requesting immediate reinforcement and... Are more people coming?" Goku's voice came through the viewport, curious and friendly despite everything. He'd leaned down to peer inside, his face filling the transparisteel window. "Maybe they can help me figure out where I am," Tarvin screamed. His training took over: identify threat, eliminate threat, survive. The blaster cleared its holster and he fired 3 shots point blank through the already damaged viewport. The bolt struck Goku in the chest and face. Red energy splashed against his skin like water against stone, dissipating harmlessly. Goku blinked, more surprised than hurt, and touched his cheek where one bolt had hit. There wasn't even a mark. "Okay, that stung a little," he said, frowning. "But seriously, why does everyone here keep attacking me? I'm just trying to..." Whoosh! The TIE fighter canopy exploded outward as Tarvin activated the emergency ejection system. The pilot rocketed upward on a column of compressed gas, his survival instincts overriding all tactical training. All he knew was that he needed to be anywhere except near that thing wearing a man's face. Goku watched him soar into the gray sky, shook his head, and sighed. "This is going to be harder than I thought." The sound of more engines drew his attention. In the distance, 3 larger ships were approaching, bulkier than the fighters, with troop compartments visible along their hulls. Imperial landing craft, though Goku didn't know that term. What he did recognize was the body language of the approach: aggressive, military, bringing reinforcements. "All right, Goku, think," he muttered to himself, a habit from years of Piccolo, telling him he needed to use his brain more. "You're somewhere totally different. Nobody speaks your language. Wait, how am I even understanding them?" He paused, considering that mystery, then shrugged. "Doesn't matter right now. Point is, they think you're a threat. Can't go Super Saiyan and blast everything. That'd just prove them right. Got to find someone who will actually talk." The landing craft touched down in a triangle formation around the crater, their boarding ramps slamming into the ice with hydraulic hisses. Stormtroopers poured out, 60 of them in pristine white armor, E-11 blaster rifles raised and tracking. They moved with practiced precision, establishing a perimeter and converging on the lone figure standing calmly in the center of their kill zone. "Target, you are surrounded!" A trooper with orange shoulder pauldrons, a squad leader, shouted through his helmet's external speakers. "Lay face down on the ground with your hands behind your head. You have 5 seconds to comply." Goku raised his hands in what he hoped was a peaceful gesture. "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm not from around here, and I'm just trying to find out where—" "Fire!" The command was instant, decisive, and terrifying in its efficiency. 60 blaster rifles opened up simultaneously, filling the frozen air with crimson death. The barrage was designed to kill a Wookiee, stop a charging Gamorrean, or cut down a Jedi who'd lost focus for even a moment. Goku's aura erupted. White ki flared around him like a star being born, and the blaster fire simply stopped. Not deflected, not absorbed, but halted, as if hitting an invisible wall made of pure force of will. The energy bolts hung in the air for a heartbeat, suspended in the telekinetic field that Goku had learned to manipulate through years of training, then dissipated harmlessly into steam. The stormtroopers' training broke. Weapons that should have killed anything mortal had failed. Several troopers stumbled backward. One dropped his rifle entirely. The squad leader's voice cracked as he shouted into his comm. "We need heavy weapons. Repeat, we need—" "I'm not your enemy." Goku's voice boomed across the battlefield, amplified by Kai in a technique he'd learned from King Kai. The sound wave physically rippled through the air, and every trooper's helmet rattled from the concussive force. "I don't even know who you people are." He lowered his hands, and his aura dimmed to a faint shimmer. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer, almost pleading. "Please just tell me where I am. What planet is this? What galaxy?" The last word came out desperate. He already suspected the answer, but needed to hear it confirmed. The squad leader, to his credit, found his courage. He kept his rifle trained on Goku, even though every instinct screamed it was useless. "You're on Renvar, Outer Rim territory under Imperial jurisdiction, and you're under arrest for—" "Imperial?" Goku interrupted, genuinely confused. "What's an Imperial? Is that like a government? Are you the police or something?" The question was so sincere, so utterly bewildered, that several troopers exchanged glances. This wasn't how hostile Force users acted. This wasn't how rebels acted. This was something else. What are you?" the squad leader asked, the question escaping before he could stop himself. "Sensors say you're human, but humans can't." "I'm a Saiyan," Goku said simply, as if that explained everything. "Well, technically I'm from Earth, but my species is Saiyan, and you still haven't told me what galaxy this is." He looked up at the alien stars, his expression falling. "This isn't Universe 7, is it? The constellations are all wrong." Universe 7. The squad leader's mind reeled. What kind of classification was that? Before he could respond, a new sound cut through the confusion. the distinctive scream of TIE fighters, but heavier, more aggressive. 2 TIE bombers appeared over the ridge, their payloads locked and ready. "All units, clear the impact zone," a voice barked over the Imperial command channel. "Proton bombs authorized. Eliminate target with extreme prejudice." The squad leader's eyes widened behind his helmet. Fall back now." Stormtroopers scattered, sprinting for the landing craft. As the TIE bombers lined up their approach vector, Goku sensed the danger instantly, not to himself, but to the surrounding area. Whatever those ships were carrying, it was big, destructive, the kind of weapon that didn't care about collateral damage. He could feel the energy signature of the bombs as they dropped, massive warheads that would turn this entire ice shelf into a crater. Time seemed to slow as his combat instincts kicked into overdrive. He could dodge, could fly away and let them waste their ammunition on empty ice. But those soldiers, even though they'd attacked him, were running, and some of them wouldn't make it out of the blast radius in time. "Damn it," Goku muttered and moved. He became a golden blur, his aura igniting fully as he pushed through the dimensional resistance and accessed his true speed. One moment he was on the ground, the next he was 500 meters up, intercepting the falling proton bombs mid-descent. He caught the first one with both hands. It was massive, easily twice his size, and the impact drove him downward before his flight arrested the momentum. The bomb's arming mechanism shrieked warnings, 3 seconds to detonation. Goku didn't hesitate. He hurled the bomb straight up with all his might, his strength sending it screaming into the upper atmosphere faster than any Imperial ship could track. The blaster bolt moved in slow motion from Goku's perspective, not because it was actually slow, but because his combat-honed reflexes processed the world differently during threats. He tilted his head. The bolt passed by his ear, close enough to singe his hair. 3 more shots followed from different angles, and he wove between them like a dancer, his body moving with fluid grace that seemed impossible for human physiology. "Okay, that's it." Goku's voice carried a hint of frustration. "I tried to be nice." He vanished. To the bounty hunters, it looked like teleportation. One instant, the target was standing in the center of their crossfire. The next, he was simply gone. The Trandoshan spun, searching, his predator's eyes scanning the cantina. "Where?" "Up here," Goku called cheerfully from the ceiling. He was standing upside down on the metal rafters, arms crossed, completely unconcerned by gravity. "You know, where I come from, bounty hunters are usually way more polite. There's this guy named Jocko who..." The droid's weapon systems fired, a spread of tracking missiles that filled the cantina with smoke trails. Goku pushed off the ceiling, flipping through the air as the missiles screamed past and detonated against the walls in spectacular fireballs. Patrons dove for cover, tables overturned, drinks went flying. Goku landed lightly on the bar itself, balanced perfectly on one foot despite the slick surface. The bartender, a 4-armed basilisk, was already hiding behind his counter. "Sorry about the mess," Goku called down to him. "I'll help clean up after." "Get him!" the Trandoshan roared, and the hunters converged. What followed wasn't so much a fight as a demonstration. Goku moved through the attackers like water flowing around stones, never quite where they expected him to be. When the Weekay lunged with his vibroblade, Goku caught the weapon between 2 fingers and gently plucked it away before tapping the hunter on the forehead. The Weekay dropped like his strings had been cut, unconscious before he hit the ground. 1, Goku counted. A human hunter tried to flank him with a neural disruptor. Goku spun, caught the woman's wrist, and redirected her shot into the ceiling before sweeping her legs. She went down hard. 2. The droid opened fire with everything: blasters, missiles, even a flamethrower attachment. Goku's aura flickered to life just for an instant, and every projectile stopped dead in the air before clattering harmlessly to the ground. He appeared behind the droid, examined its construction with genuine interest, then tapped a specific point on its back. The droid's systems shut down completely. 3. Hey, that was pretty clever engineering. The remaining hunters attacked as a coordinated unit, their professionalism overriding their growing fear. Stun nets deployed. Gas grenades filled the air with knockout chemicals. Sonic weapons shrieked at frequencies designed to incapacitate organic nervous systems. It was a brutal, efficient assault that would have dropped any normal target in seconds. Goku held his breath against the gas. He'd trained in worse under King Kai's gravity and simply ignored the sonic weapons. His Saiyan physiology had been tempered by battles against gods. Sound-based attacks barely registered. He moved through the coordinated assault like a master martial artist sparring with children, never striking to kill or even seriously harm, just overwhelming them with the sheer gap in skill. When the dust cleared, all 12 bounty hunters lay unconscious or groaning on the cantina floor. Goku stood in the center of the destruction, not even breathing hard, his orange GI somehow still pristine despite the chaos. The remaining patrons stared in absolute silence. "So," Goku said brightly, addressing the room at large, "does anyone know where I can get some food? And maybe someone who can explain what an Imperial is and why they're so mad at me?" A slow clap echoed from the corner booth. Goku turned to see a human woman stepping out of the shadows. She'd been there the whole time, but had wisely stayed out of the fight. She wore practical spacer's clothes, a blaster on her hip, and had the confident posture of someone who'd survived in dangerous places through intelligence rather than raw power. "That," she said, her voice carrying an edge of amused disbelief, "was either the most impressive display I've ever seen or the most terrifying. I can't decide which." She approached cautiously, hands visible and non-threatening. "My name's Mira Tain. I'm a freelance information broker, which is a fancy way of saying I know things and sell what I know. And right now, stranger, you're the hottest commodity in the Outer Rim." "Commodity?" Goku tilted his head. "I'm not for sale, I'm just lost." "Lost?" Mira's eyebrow arched. "The Empire classifies you as an unknown force user of catastrophic potential. Every bounty hunter in 3 sectors is looking for you. Imperial Inquisitors are being mobilized. And you're lost?" "Well, yeah." Goku scratched the back of his head sheepishly. "I was training back home, tried to teleport, and ended up here. Wherever here is. This isn't Earth. This isn't even Universe 7 as far as I can tell. So, yeah, I'm pretty lost." Mira studied him for a long moment, her analytical mind working through the implications of what he'd just said. Universe 7, teleportation. This wasn't a Force user, at least not like any she'd encountered. Force users had presence, an aura that pressed against your consciousness. This man felt different, cleaner somehow, more direct. "You're saying you're from another universe entirely?" she said slowly. "Probably, yeah. And I have no idea how the Empire works, what the Force is, or why half the galaxy is about to come hunting me." "Nope." Goku smiled. "But you seem smart. Can you help me?" Against every professional instinct, Mira found herself smiling back. This impossibly powerful being who'd just dismantled 12 veteran hunters without breaking a sweat, was asking for her help with the earnest sincerity of a child lost in a market. "You're either the most dangerous being I've ever met," she said, "or the most innocent. Maybe both." She made a decision, probably a stupid one, but she'd survived this long by trusting her instincts. "All right, lost warrior from another universe, I'll help you. But first, we need to get off this station before those hunters wake up and bring friends." "Lots of friends." "Great," Goku's expression brightened. "But seriously, is there any food on your ship? I haven't eaten in 2 days and I'm starving." Mira laughed despite herself. "Yeah, I've got rations. Come on, before—" The cantina's main door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and metal. Through the smoke, a figure emerged in black armor, red lightsaber igniting with a snap hiss that cut through the shocked silence like a knife. The Inquisitor had arrived. The Inquisitor's crimson blade cast dancing shadows across the ruined cantina, bathing everything in bloody light. Goku had never seen a weapon like it. Energy contained in blade form, humming with power that felt somehow alive. It reminded him vaguely of Vegeto's spirit sword, but this was different. Colder, hungry. The figure behind the lightsaber was tall and lean, wrapped in black armor that seemed designed as much for intimidation as protection. A helmet concealed their face, but Goku could feel something radiating from them. Not Kai exactly, but that same pervasive energy he'd sensed everywhere since arriving. It pressed against his senses like a physical force, dark and probing. "You are the anomaly," the Inquisitor said. Their voice filtered through a vocoder into something mechanical and emotionless. "The one who defies categorization. The Empire has questions, and you will answer them." "Look, another person wanting to fight." Goku sighed, but shifted into a ready stance nonetheless. His instincts were screaming that this opponent was different from the bounty hunters, more dangerous, not in raw power necessarily, but in technique and intent. "I already said I don't want trouble. I'm just trying to—" The Inquisitor moved. They were fast, genuinely fast by standards that would impress most of Goku's Z-Fighter friends. The lightsaber carved a deadly arc toward Goku's neck, the blade's energy field humming as it split the air. But to someone who'd traded blows with Jiren and matched speed with Dispo, the attack might as well have been telegraphed with warning flags. Goku leaned back. The lightsaber passed millimeters from his throat. He could feel the heat radiating from the blade, smell ozone and something else, something that made his skin prickle. The Inquisitor spun, reversing the slash. Goku hopped backward. The blade carved through a support column like it was made of paper, molten metal dripping where it passed. "Okay, that's a really cool sword," Goku admitted, continuing to dodge. "But seriously, can we just—" The Inquisitor thrust out their free hand, and suddenly Goku felt pressure slam into him from all sides. Invisible hands grabbed at his body, trying to freeze him in place or crush him into submission. The Force, though he didn't know to call it that, wrapped around him like chains. For most beings, the telekinetic Force grip was inescapable. The Inquisitor had crushed throats, shattered bones, and held Jedi Masters immobile with this technique. Against Goku, it felt like someone trying to hold back a hurricane with their bare hands. "That's new," Goku grunted, his aura flickering to life. White energy blazed around him, and the invisible pressure shattered like glass against stone. He rotated his shoulders experimentally. Felt kind of like telekinesis, but different. "You've got psychic powers?" The Inquisitor actually hesitated, their lightsaber lowering slightly in shock. No one broke Force grip like that, not without enormous effort, not without being a powerful Force user themselves. And yet the anomaly had treated it like a minor inconvenience, shattering the technique with raw, "What?" It wasn't the Force. The Inquisitor could feel the Force flowing around this being, but not through them. They were a void, a blank space that somehow generated its own power. "What are you?" the Inquisitor demanded. "I'm Goku," Goku replied simply. "Son Goku from Earth. And I'd really like it if people stopped attacking me long enough to explain what's going on." Behind the bar, Mira was frantically typing on her datapad, accessing the station's security systems. She'd seen Inquisitors in action before. Once, from a safe distance, watching one carve through a group of suspected rebel sympathizers. They were the Empire's Jedi hunters, Force users trained specifically to track down and eliminate the remnants of the old order. They were death incarnate, and this Goku was treating the Inquisitor's attacks like a sparring match. The Inquisitor lunged again, and this time Goku didn't retreat. He stepped forward inside the lightsaber's arc and caught the Inquisitor's wrist. The movement was so fast that most observers barely saw it. One moment the blade was descending, the next, Goku held the Inquisitor's arm in an iron grip, stopping the attack cold. "Got you," Goku said, and applied the gentlest pressure. The Inquisitor's arm didn't break. Goku had learned long ago how to control his strength, but the sheer force made their entire body lock up. The lightsaber fell from nerveless fingers, deactivating as it clattered across the floor. Before the Inquisitor could react, Goku swept their legs and pinned them to the ground, one hand on their chest, his weight distributed perfectly to immobilize without crushing. "Now," Goku said, his tone serious but not cruel, "can we please talk? I don't know who you are or what you want, but I'm not your enemy. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I just want answers." The Inquisitor thrashed, trying to call their lightsaber back with the Force. The weapon twitched but didn't move. Goku's foot had somehow ended up on the hilt, without him seeming to notice. They reached for the Force again, trying to blast this impossible being away with a wave of kinetic energy. Goku's aura flared and the Force technique dissipated like smoke in a windstorm. "That trick's not going to work," he said gently. "I've fought telepaths before, really good ones. You're going to have to try something else if you want to move me." The Inquisitor's breathing became ragged behind the helmet. Panic was setting in, an emotion they'd been trained to suppress. But facing the impossible tended to break even the best conditioning. This being had nullified every technique, every weapon, every advantage they possessed. And they'd done it casually, like an adult handling an unruly child. "Please," the Inquisitor said, and their voice had changed, less mechanically filtered, more human, afraid. "Please don't kill me." Goku's expression softened immediately. "Kill you? I'm not going to kill you. I already said I don't want to hurt anyone." He stood up, releasing the Inquisitor, and even offered a hand to help them up. "See? No fighting necessary." The Inquisitor stared at the offered hand like it was a trap. In their experience, mercy was a weakness to exploit. Compassion was a lie the Jedi told themselves before the Empire showed them the truth. No one with this much power offered genuine kindness, but the hand remained steady, the smile on Goku's face utterly sincere. Slowly, disbelievingly, the Inquisitor took the hand and was pulled effortlessly to their feet. Goku even picked up the fallen lightsaber and held it out, handle first, carefully, like someone returning a dropped possession to its owner. "Here," Goku said. "That's a pretty important weapon, right? Wouldn't want you to lose it." The Inquisitor took their lightsaber with trembling hands and immediately clipped it to their belt, making no move to reignite it. Their tactical assessment was complete. Fighting this being was suicide. Running might be possible. Reporting back to the Empire was priority. "The Grand Inquisitor will hear of this," they said, backing toward the destroyed entrance. "Lord Vader will hear of this. You cannot hide from the Empire. Whatever you are, wherever you came from, you've made an enemy of the most powerful force in the galaxy." "I didn't make an enemy of anyone," Goku protested. "You guys keep attacking me. If your Empire would just talk to me like a normal person, maybe we could—" The Inquisitor fled, using the Force to augment their speed as they sprinted from the cantina and disappeared into the station's corridors. Goku watched them go, confused and a little frustrated. "Does everyone here solve problems by fighting first?" he asked, turning to Mira. The information broker had emerged from behind the bar, her datapad still in hand, her expression caught between awe and horror. You just fought an Inquisitor hand-to-hand and won. Without a lightsaber, without the Force, you treated them like they were nothing." "They weren't nothing," Goku corrected. "They were just scared and following orders. I could feel it. They didn't really want to fight either. Someone's making them do this." He frowned, his simple moral compass struggling with the complexity of what he was sensing. "This Empire everyone keeps mentioning, are they the bad guys?" Mira let out a slightly hysterical laugh. "The Empire conquered the galaxy, dissolved the Republic, and hunts anyone with Force sensitivity. They built a space station that can destroy planets." "Yeah, stranger, they're pretty definitively the bad guys." "A space station that destroys planets?" Goku's expression darkened. That was something he understood. Threats to innocent lives. Power used for destruction rather than protection. That's really bad. Have they actually used it?" "Alderaan," Mira said quietly. "An entire world. Billions of people gone in an instant to make a point." Silence fell over the cantina. Even the groaning bounty hunters had gone quiet, those conscious enough to hear feeling the sudden weight in the air. The temperature seemed to drop. And for the first time since arriving, Goku's easygoing demeanor completely vanished. "They killed billions of people." His voice was soft, but something in it made Mira's instincts scream danger. "Innocent people, just to make a point?" "Yes," Mira whispered. Goku's hands clenched into fists. His aura flickered around him. White energy shot through with hints of gold, and the entire station seemed to tremble slightly. He'd fought universe-threatening entities, battled gods, faced extinction-level threats more times than he could count. But the cold, calculated murder of billions of civilians, that was something else entirely. That was evil on a scale that made even the worst villains from his universe seem limited in their cruelty. "Where is this Empire?" Goku asked, his voice still quiet, but carrying an edge that hadn't been there before. "Where are the people in charge? The ones who made that decision?" "Coruscant, the capital." Mira's breath caught. "But Goku, listen to me. You can't just fight the Empire." "It's not one person or even one planet. It's millions of ships, billions of soldiers, Force users, and weapons you can't imagine. And at the center of it all is the Emperor and his enforcer, Darth Vader. They're not like the Inquisitor you just fought. They're something else entirely." Goku took a deep breath. visibly forcing himself to calm down. The aura faded. The temperature normalized. His expression softened back to its usual openness. But Mira could see something had changed. This lost warrior from another universe had just learned what the stakes were in this galaxy, and his simple sense of right and wrong had drawn a line. "I need to understand this place better," Goku said finally. "Before I do anything stupid, I need to learn about this empire, about these force powers, about all of it. Can you help me with that?" Mira nodded slowly. "I can, but we need to move now. That Inquisitor is already reporting back, and this station is about to be swarming with Imperial forces. I've got a ship docked in Bay 7. If we run, we might make it before—" The station's alarm system screamed to life, red emergency lights flooding the corridors. A mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. "Imperial Star Destroyer detected. All ships prepare for inspection. Unauthorized departures will be fired upon. This is not a drill." Goku and Mira locked eyes. "Run?" Goku suggested. "Run," Mira agreed. They ran. Mira's ship was a modified YT-1300 light freighter, not the Millennium Falcon, but close enough in design that Goku could appreciate the weathered, functional aesthetic. She'd named it the Wandering Star, and it showed the kind of personal maintenance that spoke of years spent in space, with no one to rely on but yourself. The boarding ramp was already lowering as they sprinted across the docking bay, Mira's remote access codes working faster than any manual system. "Get in! Get in!" Mira shouted, practically diving up the ramp. Goku followed at a more leisurely pace, looking around the bay with interest. Several other ships were attempting emergency launches, their engines flaring to life in defiance of the Imperial lockdown order. Through the atmospheric shield, he could see the massive triangular shape of a star destroyer moving into position, a vessel so large it seemed to dwarf the station itself. "That's a big ship," Goku observed. "That's a star destroyer," Mira corrected, already racing toward the cockpit. 1.6 kilometers of death and tyranny. They carry 72 TIE fighters, orbital bombardment capabilities, and enough firepower to glass a continent. And right now, it's between us and hyperspace. Goku strapped himself into the co-pilot seat as Mira's hands flew across the controls with practiced efficiency. The Wandering Star's engines roared to life, repulsor lifts engaging as the ship lifted from the deck. Around them, the docking bay's magnetic clamps tried to activate, but Mira had already overridden them through the station's compromised security systems. "You're a really good pilot," Goku said appreciatively, watching her work. "I'm a survivor," Mira replied, throwing the ship into a hard bank as they cleared the bay doors. "And surviving means knowing when to run and how to run fast. Hold on, this is going to get rough." The Wandering Star shot from Wayward Station like a missile, Mira pushing the sublights to their maximum. Immediately, proximity alarms screamed warnings as 6 TIE fighters peeled away from the Star Destroyer's hangar, their distinctive twin-ion engines shrieking as they gave chase. "Of course they sent fighters," Mira muttered, diving into a corkscrew roll that would have liquefied a less experienced pilot. Green laser fire stitched past the cockpit, missing by meters. "Goku, I don't suppose you know how to operate a quad laser turret." "What?" Goku looked around the cockpit, confused. "Never mind, just stay strapped in and try not to—" The ship lurched violently as a laser bolt clipped the rear deflector shields. Warning lights flashed across the console. Mira swore creatively in 3 languages and sent the ship into a dive that brought them skimming across Wayward Station's hull. using the structure as cover from the pursuing TIEs. Goku watched the battle unfold with growing fascination. The TIE fighters moved in coordinated attack patterns, their pilots clearly well-trained and experienced. Mira countered with maneuvers that defied what he understood about ship combat, spinning, diving, reversing thrust at moments that seemed suicidal but somehow worked. It was like watching a three-dimensional martial arts battle, each move and counter-move a statement of skill, but they were still outnumbered, and the Star Destroyer was moving to cut off their escape route to hyperspace. Massive turbo laser batteries tracking their movement, not firing yet, probably under orders to capture, not destroy, but their presence was a constant threat. "We're not going to make it," Mira said through gritted teeth, pulling the ship through another impossible turn. "The hyperdrive needs 30 more seconds to calculate a jump, and these TIEs are going to shred us before—" "Can you open that hatch?" Goku interrupted, pointing to the dorsal emergency airlock. "What? We're in space, that's—" Mira's protest died as she saw his expression. It was the same look he'd had right before dismantling 12 bounty hunters. "You're not seriously thinking of going outside?" "I can hold my breath for a really long time," Goku said cheerfully, "and I'm pretty sure I can fly in vacuum. Haven't tried it, but doesn't seem that different from flying in atmosphere once you get past the whole no air thing." "That's insane. That's completely—" Another laser hit rocked the ship, and more warning lights joined the chorus. Their rear shields were down to 30%. "Okay, fine. But if you die out there, I'm not explaining it to anyone." Goku unbuckled and made his way to the airlock. Mira watched on the cockpit monitors as he stepped into the chamber, gave her a thumbs up through the camera, and then opened the outer door. The vacuum of space hit him like a physical force. All the air in the chamber explosively decompressed, trying to tear him out into the void. Goku's aura flared instinctively, creating a thin barrier of Kai around his body that held in his final breath and protected against the radiation and extreme cold. He'd survived the vacuum of space before, briefly, during the fight with Beerus, but this was going to require more sustained effort. He pushed off from the ship and floated free, orienting himself with small bursts of Kai. The universe's resistance to his powers was still there, making everything cost more energy than it should. But he was adapting. The Star Destroyer loomed ahead, like a mountain made of metal, its surface studded with weapons and sensor arrays. 6 TIE fighters were converging on the wandering star, their pilots so focused on their target that they hadn't noticed the single humanoid figure now drifting in their path. Goku took a mental breath. His lungs were burning, but he could hold it, and moved. From the TIE pilot's perspective, it was like hitting an invisible wall. The lead fighter's viewport suddenly filled with an orange and blue shape. And then their ship was spinning out of control as something grabbed the wing panel and redirected their momentum. The pilot's scream cut off as Goku tapped the cockpit hull with one finger. Gently, always gently. He didn't want to kill anyone, and the fighter's systems went haywire from the kinetic impact. The second and third TIEs tried to evade, but Goku was everywhere at once. He moved through the vacuum like he'd been born to it, his ki-enhanced reflexes compensating for the lack of air resistance. One TIE found itself being pushed by an invisible hand toward its wingmate. Both fighters collided in a shower of sparks and debris. The pilots ejected their emergency system, sending them floating away from the battle. "What the hell is he doing?" Mira whispered, watching her sensors track Goku's impossible movement through space. "That's not... people can't..." The remaining 3 TIEs opened fire, filling space with laser fire that should have atomized anything caught in the barrage. Goku's aura blazed white gold in the void, and the laser bolts simply stopped, frozen in his telekinetic field before dissipating harmlessly. He pushed towards the fighters, grabbed one by its solar panel, and used it like a bat to swat the other 2 away. All 3 fighters spiraled off, disabled but intact, their pilots too stunned to do anything but stare. On the bridge of the Star Destroyer Inexorable, Captain Ven watched the tactical display with mounting disbelief. "What am I looking at?" he demanded of his sensor officer. "Sir, the target appears to be fighting in vacuum, without a suit, without a ship, without any visible technology." The officer's voice cracked slightly. "All 6 TIE fighters have been disabled in under 90 seconds. Captain Ven had served in the Imperial Navy for 20 years. He'd fought rebels, pirates, and even a rogue Jedi once. He'd seen strange things. But this defied every tactical manual, every understanding of combat he'd ever developed. "Order all turbo laser batteries to open fire," he said. "Vaporize that thing before it—" Goku appeared outside the bridge viewport. He floated there, 30 meters from the transparisteel, his aura the only thing protecting him from the void. His orange G rippled with energy that shouldn't exist, and his eyes met Captain Ven's across the vacuum. Then Goku smiled. Not a threatening smile, but the friendly expression of someone trying to be polite, and waved. Every officer on the bridge froze. "Sir," the weapons officer whispered, "orders?" Captain Ven's tactical mind raced through options. This being had disabled 6 fighters without breaking a sweat and was now casually floating outside their bridge in hard vacuum. If they fired, would it even matter? If they didn't fire, what message did that send? Before he could decide, Goku pointed behind the Star Destroyer, then gave another friendly wave and rocketed away, so fast the sensors lost tracking for a moment. "What was that about?" the weapons officer asked. "Sir, the freighter is gone," the sensor officer reported. "They jumped to hyperspace while we were distracted." Captain Ven sank into his command chair, feeling decades older than he had 5 minutes ago. "Get me a direct line to Imperial Intelligence, Priority Alpha, and someone find out what the hell that thing was." Light years away, aboard the wandering star as it streaked through hyperspace, Mira sat in stunned silence. Goku had climbed back through the airlock, looking slightly blue from oxygen deprivation, but otherwise completely fine. He'd gasped a few deep breaths, smiled, and declared that space fighting was pretty fun, actually. "You just—" Mira started, stopped, started again. "You just fought 6 TIE fighters in space, without a suit." "Yeah, that was harder than I thought it'd be," Goku admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "The whole no-air thing makes it tough to move efficiently, and I still can't use my ki as well as I should in this universe. It's like everything costs 20% more energy. I'm going to need to train and adapt." "Train and adapt," Mira repeated numbly. "You disabled an Imperial fighter squadron in 90 seconds, and you think you need to train?" "Well, yeah, I was sloppy out there. Took too long to handle those pilots, and I still haven't figured out how to use instant transmission properly here. Plus, if I run into someone really strong, I need to be at full power." He looked at her seriously. "That Darth Vader you mentioned, is he as strong as the Emperor?" Mira took a moment to respond, her mind still processing everything she'd witnessed. "Vader he's the Emperor's right hand, a Dark Lord of the Sith. Stories say he's killed Jedi masters, crushed rebel fleets, enforced the Emperor's will across the galaxy. Some people think he's more machine than man now, kept alive by the dark side of the Force and technology. More machine than man, Goku repeated thoughtfully. That's sad. Sounds like he's been through a lot. He was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Do you think he chose to serve the Emperor? Or is he being controlled?" The question caught Mira off guard. In all her years in the underworld, trading information and secrets, she'd heard 1,000 stories about Darth Vader, tales of terror, of unstoppable power, of ruthless enforcement. But she'd never once heard anyone ask if Vader had a choice. "I don't know," she admitted. "Does it matter?" "Yeah," Goku said simply. "It matters a lot. If he's choosing to do bad things, that's one problem. If someone's making him do bad things, that's a different problem. Different problems need different solutions." Mira studied this strange warrior who'd appeared from nowhere and turned her understanding of power upside down. He'd fought bounty hunters, an inquisitor, and an imperial fighter squadron without killing anyone. He'd shown mercy to enemies and curiosity about their motives. And he spoke about facing the Empire's most feared enforcer like it was just another problem to solve. "Goku," she said slowly, "what exactly are you planning to do in this galaxy?" He smiled, that genuine, open smile that seemed so at odds with his demonstrated power. "Well, first I'm going to eat something. Then I'm going to learn everything I can about this place. The Empire, the rebels, the Force, all of it. And then," he looked out the cockpit viewport at the swirling blue of hyperspace, "then I'm going to figure out how to help, because if there are people destroying planets and hurting innocent folks, someone needs to stop them. And until I find a way home, I guess that someone might as well be me." "Just like that?" Mira asked. "You're going to take on the entire galactic empire?" "Why not?" Goku replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the galaxy. "I've fought tougher odds before." Mira couldn't help but laugh, a slightly hysterical sound that held equal parts fear and hope. She'd spent her whole life surviving by staying small, staying hidden, staying away from the Empire's attention. And now she was harboring the most wanted being in the Outer Rim, a warrior from another universe who talked about challenging the Empire like it was a friendly sparring match. "You're either going to change everything," she said, "or get us both killed." "Probably a bit of both," Goku agreed cheerfully. "That's usually how these things go." Somewhere in the galaxy, aboard a star destroyer bound for Coruscant, Darth Vader sat alone in his meditation chamber. The reports had been flooding in for hours. An unknown humanoid with unprecedented power, fighting Imperial forces across multiple engagements, showing abilities that transcended anything in the Imperial database. But it wasn't the power that disturbed Vader. He'd faced powerful opponents before. It was the feeling. When the anomaly had torn through reality to arrive in this galaxy, Vader had sensed it, a presence that the Force couldn't quite define, couldn't quite grasp, and in the hours since, that presence had only grown stronger, clearer, like a star emerging from behind clouds. There was no darkness in it, no corruption, no hatred or fear or anger, just purity, raw, unfiltered purpose without the weight of the dark side or the restrictions of the light. It reminded Vader of something he'd spent 20 years trying to forget. It reminded him of hope. "What are you?" Vader whispered to the darkness of his chamber, mechanical breathing the only answer. But deep down, in the place where Anakin Skywalker still existed, Buried, broken, but not quite dead, a different question formed. Could you save me? The thought was treason. The Emperor would sense such weakness, would punish it, would use it to tighten his control. But the question persisted, growing louder with every report of this being who fought without killing, who showed mercy without weakness, who seemed to believe that even enemies deserved a chance at redemption. Vader's fists clenched. He would find this anomaly. He would face it. He would test its power and purpose. And then he would discover if hope was a lie he'd been right to abandon, or a truth he'd been wrong to forget. The rebel base on Dantooine was hidden beneath layers of security, concealed sensors, and the kind of careful paranoia that kept people alive in a galaxy ruled by the Empire. Mira had contacted them through heavily encrypted channels, using codes she'd purchased years ago as insurance, the kind of thing an information broker kept in reserve for when running from the Empire became a permanent lifestyle choice. That had been 3 days ago. 3 days of hiding in a remote asteroid field while the wandering star's systems cooled down and Mira arranged the meeting. 3 days during which Goku had eaten through her entire supply of rations, apologized profusely, and then somehow made it up to her by helping repair the ship's malfunctioning motivator with his bare hands. He'd simply reached into the machinery and straightened a bent component through what Mira could only describe as perfect tactile control. "You know that should have electrocuted you, right?" she'd said, watching him work. "Yeah, I felt the electricity," Goku had replied. "But it wasn't that strong. I've been hit by lightning before. This was like a static shock, I guess." Now they were descending through Dantooine's atmosphere toward coordinates the rebels had provided. Rolling plains of golden grass stretched to every horizon, dotted with ancient ruins that predated the Republic itself. It was peaceful, serene, and seemingly empty, which was exactly the point. "When we land, let me do the talking," Mira said as they approached the hidden hangar. "The rebellion doesn't exactly trust outsiders, and you're about as outside as it gets. They're going to be suspicious, probably hostile, and definitely going to point a lot of weapons at you." "That seems to be a theme here," Goku observed. "Do people in this galaxy ever meet each other without pointing weapons?" "Not in my experience." The hidden hangar doors slid open, revealing a cavity carved into stone beneath the grasslands. Mira guided the wandering star inside, and the doors sealed behind them with the finality of a trap closing. When they descended the boarding ramp, they found themselves surrounded by 30 rebel soldiers in mismatched armor and uniforms, every weapon trained on Goku. "Friendly greeting," Goku muttered, but kept his hands visible and non-threatening. A woman stepped forward from the ranks, Mon Mothma, though Goku didn't know her name or significance. She carried herself with the dignity of someone accustomed to command, her white robes pristine despite the military setting. Behind her stood a diverse group that Goku's instincts identified as leadership: a scarred military commander, a Bothan intelligence officer, and others who watched with calculating eyes. "Mira Tain," Mon Mothma said, her voice carrying authority tempered with caution. "Your message claimed you possessed information of critical importance to the Alliance. Information regarding an individual of unprecedented power who could shift the balance against the Empire." Her gaze shifted to Goku. "I assume this is the individual in question?" "That's me," Goku said, offering a friendly wave. "I'm Goku. Nice to meet you." The soldiers' grips on their weapons tightened. Several exchanged confused glances. This was the being that had fought an Inquisitor hand-to-hand and disabled an Imperial fighter squadron in vacuum. He looked like a martial artist from some backwater world, wearing clothes that seemed designed for training rather than combat. "You'll forgive our skepticism," Mon Mothma continued, "but the Empire has been known to send infiltrators and provocateurs. We've reviewed the reports, the incident on Renvar, the bounty hunters on Wayward Station, the engagement with the inexorable. The Empire is treating you as an extinction-level threat, yet you stand before us unarmed and seemingly unconcerned." "Well, I don't really use weapons," Goku explained. "And I'm not concerned because I'm not here to fight you. Mira told me about the rebellion, how you're trying to stop the Empire from hurting people." "That seems like a good cause." "A good cause," General Ryakin, the scarred military commander, repeated with barely concealed skepticism. "The Alliance has been fighting the Empire for years. We've lost entire cells, seen planets blockaded, watched friends die in battles against impossible odds. And you call it a good cause, like you're discussing a charity drive?" Goku's expression turned serious. "I know what it's like to fight for something important. I've protected my world from people who wanted to destroy it or conquer it. I've fought beings that could erase entire universes. I get it. Sometimes you have to stand up to bullies, even when they're stronger than you. That's what you're doing, right? Standing up to the Empire because someone has to." The simple sincerity in his voice cut through the room's tension like a blade. These were people who'd sacrificed everything for their cause, who lived with constant fear of discovery and death, who fought knowing they might never see victory, and this stranger understood. Not the details, perhaps, but the fundamental truth of what they were doing. "Prove it," General Ryakin said. "Prove you're what the reports claim, because if you're an Imperial trick, you die here, and if you're genuine but weak, you're a liability we can't afford." "How do you want me to prove it?" Goku asked. Ryakin gestured to a nearby training area, a reinforced chamber designed for combat drills and equipment testing. "Survive 30 seconds against our best fighter. Non-lethal engagement, but full contact. Show us what you can do." Goku shrugged. "Okay, that sounds fun. Actually, I haven't had a good sparring match since I got here." The rebel champion who stepped forward was a Wookiee named Chewbacca, though he was currently between his service with Han Solo and would find his way back to a smuggler's life soon enough. He stood over 2 meters tall, covered in brown fur with muscles that could tear Durasteel, and had a reputation as one of the Alliance's most formidable warriors. He roared a greeting that Goku somehow understood as respectful acknowledgement between fighters. "Wow, you're huge," Goku said appreciatively, "and strong too. I can feel it. This is going to be great." He stretched, rolling his shoulders and bouncing on his feet. "Ready when you are," Chewbacca charged. 300 pounds of Wookiee muscle crossed the training chamber in seconds, faster than most humans could perceive. Clawed hands reached for Goku in a grappling technique that had subdued Trandoshan slavers and battle droids. It was a move that had never failed. Goku sidestepped casually, and Chewbacca's momentum carried him past. The Wookiee spun, surprised, and threw a punch that could cave in a human skull. Goku caught it with one hand, his feet sliding back slightly from the force, but otherwise unmoved. "Good power," Goku said enthusiastically, "but you're telegraphing your strikes. Try coming from a different angle, like this." He released Chewbacca's fist and demonstrated with a slow-motion punch, showing proper form and weight transfer. Chewbacca roared in frustration, and attacked with everything he had, a flurry of strikes, grabs, and techniques refined over a lifetime of battles. Goku moved between them like water, occasionally catching a blow to demonstrate proper blocking technique or redirecting an attack to show leverage principles. He was teaching while fighting, treating the entire engagement like a friendly lesson rather than a test of dominance. "See, if you shift your weight here," Goku explained, guiding Chewbacca's arm through a proper striking motion, "you get way more power without losing balance. You're already really strong. With better technique, you'd be incredible." The 30 seconds passed. Then a minute, then 2. Chewbacca was breathing hard, not from exhaustion, but from the sheer frustration of being unable to land a single clean hit. Goku, meanwhile, looked like he was having the time of his life, completely relaxed and genuinely enjoying the exchange. "All right, my turn," Goku said cheerfully. He tapped Chewbacca on the chest, faster than the eye could follow, and the Wookiee stumbled backward, his legs suddenly refusing to support him. He sat down hard, completely unharmed, but unable to move his lower body. "That's a pressure point technique," Goku explained to the stunned audience. "Temporarily disrupts the nerve signals. He'll be fine in about 30 seconds. No permanent damage, just enough to end a fight peacefully." He helped Chewbacca stand as sensation returned to the Wookiee's legs and offered a respectful bow. "Thanks for the match. You're really strong." Chewbacca roared something that might have been respect or disbelief or both, then clasped Goku's shoulder with one massive hand, a Wookiee gesture of acknowledgement between warriors. The rebel leadership stood in silence, processing what they'd witnessed. General Riken's tactical mind was racing. This being had treated their best close-quarters fighter like a student, demonstrating abilities that suggested he was holding back significantly. If the reports from Renvar and the Inexorable were accurate, this was barely a fraction of his true capacity. "You're the real thing," Mon Mothma said quietly. "The question remains, what do you want from us?" "Information mostly," Goku replied. "Mira's been great, but she's one person. You're a whole organization fighting the Empire. You must know a lot about how this galaxy works, who the major players are, what the Emperor and Darth Vader are actually capable of." He paused, then added with a sheepish grin, "And maybe some food. I'm still getting used to rations, and I heard military groups usually have better supplies." Despite everything, several rebels smiled. There was something disarming about this impossibly powerful being asking for sandwiches and history lessons. "We can provide both," Mon Mothma said. "But Goku, understand that the rebellion is built on sacrifice and trust. If we share our intelligence, our resources, our confidence, we need to know whose side you're on. The Empire will offer you anything: wealth, power, position. Why would you choose to help us instead?" Goku's answer was immediate and simple. "Because you're trying to protect people, and they're trying to hurt people. I've never been good at complicated politics or big strategy stuff, but I know the difference between protecting and hurting. My whole life, I've fought to keep people safe. That's not going to change just because I'm in a different galaxy." "And if we ask you to fight?" General Riken pressed. "If we point you at an Imperial target and ask you to destroy it, would you?" "Depends on the target," Goku said seriously. "If it's a weapon threatening innocent people or soldiers actively hurting folks, yeah, I'd help. But I don't kill if I can avoid it. I've fought a lot of bad people, and most of them can change if you give them a chance. Not all of them. Some people are just evil, but more than you'd think. So I'd rather defeat enemies than destroy them." A warrior with mercy, Mon Mothma observed. In this galaxy, that's either wisdom or weakness. It's just how I am, Goku replied with a shrug. The rebel leadership exchanged glances, entire conversations happening in looks and subtle gestures. Finally, Mon Mothma nodded. Very well. We'll provide what information we can about the Empire, the Force, and the current state of the galactic conflict. In exchange, we ask only that you consider helping us when the time comes. No oaths, no binding promises, just consideration. She extended her hand. Do we have an agreement? Goku shook her hand with a grin. Deal! Oh, and that food thing, that's part of the agreement too, right? Yes, Goku, Mon Mothma said. And despite the weight of rebellion and the shadow of empire, she found herself smiling. That's part of the agreement. As Goku was led away to the mess hall, where he would shortly horrify the quartermaster by eating enough for 20 people, Mon Mothma turned to General Riken. Your assessment? If he's genuine, he's the most powerful asset we could imagine, Riken said carefully. If he's not, we just showed an Imperial infiltrator everything. I don't think he's Imperial, Mira interjected. She'd been silent during the demonstration, but now stepped forward. I've spent 3 days with him. He's exactly what he appears to be. A warrior from another reality with a simple moral code and terrifying power. He doesn't lie, doesn't scheme, doesn't understand galactic politics. He just wants to help and find a way home. And if he can't find a way home, Riken asked. Mira looked toward the mess hall, where enthusiastic sounds of eating were already echoing. Then I think the Empire just made the biggest mistake of its existence by making him an enemy. Mon Mothma nodded slowly. Alert our intelligence network. I want everything we have on Darth Vader, the Emperor, and the Inquisitorius compiled and ready. If Goku is going to face the Empire's Force users, he needs to understand what he's up against. She paused, allowing herself a moment of something she rarely felt anymore, hope. And we need to prepare for what happens when an unstoppable force meets the immovable object. You think he can actually challenge Vader? Riken asked skeptically. I think, Mon Mothma replied, that we're about to find out. The holocron display cast blue light across the briefing room as Goku watched footage of Darth Vader's past engagements. The Dark Lord moved through rebel soldiers like death incarnate, lightsaber carving through blaster fire, the Force hurling bodies aside like toys, his mechanical breathing a constant rhythm of inevitability. In one clip, Vader crushed a blast door with a gesture. In another, he deflected an entire volley of blaster bolts without seeming to notice. He's strong, Goku observed, leaning forward with genuine interest. Really strong, not just physically, there's something else. That Force energy you mentioned. The dark side of the Force, Lieutenant Varan clarified. He'd been assigned to educate Goku on Imperial capabilities, a task he'd approached with skepticism that was rapidly transforming into cautious respect. Vader was once a Jedi named Anakin Skywalker, considered the Chosen One, meant to bring balance to the Force. Instead, he fell to darkness and became the Emperor's enforcer. The Chosen One, Goku repeated. I've met a few of those. Prophecies about special warriors who are supposed to save everything. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. He watched Vader force choke a rebel captain through a view screen. So he can use that telekinesis thing from a distance. The Inquisitor I fought could do it up close, but this is way stronger. Vader's force abilities are beyond most force users, Varan said. He can sense disturbances across star systems, kill with a thought, and his lightsaber technique is reportedly flawless. Some say he's unkillable, protected by the dark side itself and sustained by his armor. Nobody's unkillable, Goku said, with the confidence of someone who died and come back multiple times. But he's definitely going to be tough. That's exciting, actually. I haven't had a real challenge since I got here. Varan stared at him. You're excited about potentially fighting the second most dangerous being in the galaxy. Well, yeah, Goku grinned. Fighting strong opponents is how you get stronger yourself. Plus, if he's as powerful as you say, maybe he knows something about these force powers that could help me understand this universe better. I still can't get my instant transmission working properly, and my ki feels off. Maybe it's connected to this force thing somehow. Before Varan could respond, alarms shrieked through the base. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors as an announcement echoed, Imperial forces detected, multiple star destroyers entering orbit. This is not a drill. All personnel to evacuation stations. Goku and Varan rushed to the command center where controlled chaos reigned. Mon Mothma stood at the central display, her usual composure cracked by genuine fear. General Riekin was barking orders to scrambling personnel, organizing an evacuation that everyone knew would be too slow. 3 star destroyers, Riekin reported, his voice tight, and an Imperial-class command ship. They're deploying dropships and TIE squadrons. We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach the base. How did they find us? Someone asked desperately. It doesn't matter now, Mon Mothma said. Begin evacuation protocols. Prioritize personnel and critical intelligence. Everything else, wait, Goku interrupted. Everyone turned to stare at him. 3 star destroyers, that's the big triangle ships, right? He moved to the tactical display, studying the positions of the Imperial vessels. Can I ask a weird question? How many people are on those ships? Roughly 37,000 crew per star destroyer, Varan said automatically, plus stormtroopers, support staff. Why does that matter? Because I don't want to hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it, Goku said seriously. If I go up there and disable their ships, just disable them, not destroy them. Could you evacuate while they're dealing with that? You can't fight 3 star destroyers alone, Riekin said flatly. That's over 100,000 personnel, thousands of TI fighters, and enough firepower to level this entire planet. It's suicide. I've fought entire armies back home, Goku replied. Different technology, but same basic idea. And I'm a lot stronger than I was when those fights started. He looked at Mon Mothma, his expression earnest. You need time to evacuate. I can buy you that time. Will you let me help? Mon Mothma met his eyes. Those strange, earnest eyes that held no guile, no hidden agenda, just simple determination to protect people. Against every tactical instinct, every lesson learned through years of guerrilla warfare, she found herself nodding. If you can give us 30 minutes, we can get everyone out. 30 minutes? Goku smiled. I can do that. High above Dantooine, aboard the Star Destroyer Devastator, Captain Velon reviewed the assault plan with grim satisfaction. 3 star destroyers to eliminate 1 hidden rebel cell was overkill, but Admiral Mahdi had been explicit. The Alliance would learn that no base was safe, no hiding place secure. And if the anomaly, that strange being from Renvar, was here as intelligence suggested, They would need every bit of that overwhelming force. All fighters deployed, the tactical officer reported. Drop ships entering atmosphere. Estimated time to target, 12 minutes. Excellent, Velon said. Prepare orbital bombardment for my... The ship lurched violently, alarm screaming as something massive struck the hull. Not weapons fire. The shields would have absorbed that. This was kinetic impact, as if they'd collided with an asteroid at speed. What was that? Velon demanded. Sir, I don't... Something just hit the starboard deflector shield generator. The entire array is offline. How? There are no rebel ships in... Another impact, this one harder. The deck plating groaned under stresses it was never designed to handle. Through the viewport, Velon caught a glimpse of something impossible. A small figure glowing with white gold energy, tearing through the external hull with bare hands. That's impossible, Velon whispered. Goku ripped through another layer of durasteel, his aura protecting him from the vacuum and the ship's defensive systems. He'd started with the weapons, carefully destroying turbo laser batteries and missile tubes, with precise key blasts that melted the mechanisms without exploding the magazines. Now he was working on propulsion, targeting the massive ion engines that kept these vessels moving. The Empire's ships were impressively built, redundant systems, armor designed to withstand capital ship bombardment, automated defenses that tracked and fired at threats. But they'd never been designed to defend against a single humanoid attacker who could survive in vacuum, move faster than their targeting computers could track, and hit with the force of seismic charges. Goku punched through the engine housing of the Devastator's main thruster, grabbed the internal components, and yanked. 50 tons of precision Imperial engineering came free in his hands like a weed pulled from the ground. The engine sputtered and died. The Star Destroyer immediately listed to one side as its propulsion became unbalanced. One down, Goku muttered, his voice inaudible in vacuum, but his lips readable by anyone watching through sensors. 2 more to go. He pushed off the Devastator and rocketed toward the second Star Destroyer, the Dominator. TIE fighters swarmed around him now, hundreds of them, their pilots finally understanding where the attack was coming from. Laser fire filled space with deadly crimson light. Goku dove through the formation, his aura deflecting bolts that would have vaporized capital ship hulls. He grabbed one TIE fighter, gently, always gently, and used it as a shield while disabling 3 others with precision strikes. The pilots ejected, and Goku made sure to tap their survival pods away from the battle zone. He didn't want anyone dying if he could help it. The Dominator opened fire with everything. Turbo lasers, point defense cannons, even experimental weapons that painted space with exotic energies. Goku crossed his arms in front of his face and let his aura flare to full power, pushing through the dimensional resistance with pure willpower. Boom, 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 boom. The bombardment was incredible, enough firepower to crack a moon, but it splashed against his ki like water against a mountain. This universe really doesn't like my powers, Goku grunted, feeling the strain. Every technique cost more here. Every use of ki fought against reality itself. He could maintain this level for hours back home, but here, maybe 30 minutes before exhaustion became a real problem. Good thing that was exactly how long he'd promised. He reached the Dominator's hull and started his work again, disabling weapons, destroying engines, carefully avoiding any sections that looked like they might hold people. This wasn't about killing the enemy. This was about buying time for innocents to escape. On the bridge of the third Star Destroyer, the Immobilizer, Admiral Motti watched his fleet fall apart with growing horror. 2 Star Destroyers disabled in minutes, thousands of TIE fighters destroyed or scattered, and all of it accomplished by a single humanoid who fought like nothing in any Imperial database. "Contact Lord Vader," Motti ordered, his voice shaking. "Tell him we found the anomaly. Tell him." He swallowed hard. "Tell him we need immediate assistance." Goku finished with the Dominator, its engines dead, weapons offline, but crew safe, and turned toward the Immobilizer. The third ship was already trying to retreat, its captain clearly smarter than the others, but retreat meant engaging hyperdrive. And Goku had learned enough about these ships to know where those systems were located. He put on a burst of speed, covering the distance in seconds, and grabbed the hyperdrive motivator just as it began to spool up. The energy discharge would have killed any normal being, but Goku's Saiyan physiology absorbed it like a battery taking a charge. He felt the electricity course through him, painful but manageable, and ripped the entire assembly free. The Immobilizer went dead in space, powerless and helpless. Goku floated back, surveying his work. 3 Star Destroyers disabled, their crews scared but alive. Dozens of TIE fighters scattered across the immediate space, their pilots rescued and safe. And below, on Dantooine's surface, he could sense the rebel base evacuating, ships lifting off and jumping to hyperspace, carrying people to safety. Mission accomplished. He was about to head back down when his combat instincts suddenly screamed warning. Something was coming, something powerful. The pervasive force energy that filled this universe suddenly concentrated like a storm gathering on the horizon. It was dark, cold, and achingly familiar, the same flavor of power he'd sensed from the Inquisitor, but magnified 100-fold. A single ship dropped from hyperspace. It was smaller than the Star Destroyers, sleeker, designed for speed rather than overwhelming force. Lambda-class shuttle, though Goku didn't know the designation, but he knew, with the certainty of a warrior who'd faced countless enemies, that whoever was on that ship was the real threat. The shuttle's boarding ramp lowered despite the vacuum. A figure emerged, walking into hard space as if it were a garden path. Black armor, flowing cape, mechanical breathing that Goku could somehow hear despite the lack of air. The red lightsaber ignited with a snap hiss that resonated through the Force itself. Darth Vader had arrived. They floated there, separated by 1,000 meters of vacuum. The Sith Lord who had destroyed the Jedi Order, and the Saiyan warrior from another universe. For a long moment, neither moved. They simply observed, 2 predators taking each other's measure. Then Vader spoke, his voice carrying through the Force itself, bypassing the need for air. "So, you are the anomaly that has disrupted the natural order, the being that the Force cannot define." Goku's eyes widened slightly. "Whoa! You can talk without air? That's a neat trick. I'm just holding my breath." He paused, then added, "You're Darth Vader, right?" "I've been learning about you. The rebels say you're really strong." "Strength is irrelevant," Vader replied. "I serve the Emperor and the natural order of the galaxy. You are chaos, a variable that must be eliminated or controlled. Surrender now and your death will be swift." "I'm not really the surrendering type," Goku said, his expression growing serious, the playful warrior replaced by the focused martial artist. "And I don't think you're going to kill me. I think this is going to be a real fight, the kind where both of us have to try our hardest." His smile returned. "I'm actually looking forward to it." Vader's breathing was the only sound, steady, mechanical, inevitable. You fight for the rebellion, for chaos and disorder. The dark side will teach you the price of that allegiance. I don't fight for the rebellion, Goku corrected. I fight to protect people. There's a difference. And I don't care what side your force is on. Light, dark, whatever. I've got my own power, and it's enough. Then die with that delusion, Vader said, and attacked. The vacuum of space became a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Vader moved with the fluid grace of a master duelist, his lightsaber a crimson blur as it carved toward Goku's neck. The Sith Lord augmented his speed with the Force, closing the distance in a fraction of a heartbeat. Goku weaved around the blade, his combat instincts reading Vader's movements like an open book. The lightsaber hummed past his ear close enough that he felt its heat even through his protective aura. He countered with a punch. Aimed at Vader's midsection, pulled significantly. He didn't want to kill, but the Dark Lord twisted with impossible agility, the Force warning him of danger before the strike could land. They separated, circling each other in the void between disabled Star Destroyers. Vader's cape billowed despite the lack of atmosphere, animated by the Force itself. His mechanical breathing remained steady, controlled, while Goku's lungs were beginning to burn. He'd been in vacuum for nearly 10 minutes now, and even Saiyan physiology had limits. You fight without form, Vader observed, his voice resonating through the Force. Without discipline, raw power without refinement is merely wasted potential. Maybe, Goku replied, his voice silent in the vacuum, but his meaning clear through body language and expression. He tapped his chest twice, then pointed up, indicating he needed air. Then he pointed at Vader and made a time-out gesture with his hands. Vader paused, his lightsaber still raised but no longer attacking. For a moment confusion rippled through the dark side aura surrounding him. This being who disabled 3 Star Destroyers was asking for a break to breathe? Goku didn't wait for permission. He rocketed down toward Dantooine's atmosphere, breaking through the upper layers in seconds. Vader followed, lightsaber deactivated, but the Force gathered around him like a cloak of shadows. Both warriors descended through clouds and into breathable air above the abandoned rebel base. "Ah, that's better," Goku gasped as he sucked in deep breaths, floating about 50 meters above the golden grasslands. His aura stabilized and some of the strain left his features. "Thanks for waiting. Fighting in vacuum is really hard. No air, no sound, and I can't power up properly without risking running out of breath." Vader landed on the ground below, his boots crushing the tall grass. His presence pressed against reality like a physical weight, the dark side radiating from him in waves that made the very air feel heavier. "You ask your enemy for mercy in the midst of battle. This is weakness." "It's not weakness to need air," Goku said reasonably, descending to float at Vader's eye level. "That's just biology, but hey, since we're taking a break anyway, can I ask you something?" He landed on the grass, standing in a relaxed, ready stance. "The rebels told me you used to be a Jedi. Someone named Anakin Skywalker. They said you were supposed to be chosen for something important, but you changed. What happened?" The question hung in the air between them. Through the Force, Vader felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Genuine curiosity, without judgment, without fear, without hidden agenda. This anomaly, this being from beyond the galaxy, truly wanted to understand. "Anakin Skywalker is dead," Vader said, his mechanical voice flat and final. "I destroyed him as I will destroy you." "But you're still in there, right?" Goku pressed. his tone gentle. "Under the armor and the machine parts. I can sense it. You're hurt, really badly hurt, but you're alive. Someone did something terrible to you, and now you're serving the people who did it." "Why?" "You understand nothing," Vader growled, and the grass around him withered and died as the dark side flared. "The Emperor gave me purpose when I had none, power when I was weak. The dark side offers strength, true strength, not the lies and limitations of the Jedi Order." "Strength through anger and pain," Goku said thoughtfully. "I've met people like that. Some of them became friends eventually. Vegeta, he's a Saiyan like me, used to think power came from pride and rage, but he learned there's stronger power in protecting the people you care about." He smiled. "Maybe you can learn that too." "Enough!" Vader reignited his lightsaber, the crimson blade casting his armored form in hellish light. "You will not corrupt me with sentiment and weakness. You will die, and the Emperor will study your corpse to understand the threat you represent." "So that's a no on the friendship thing," Goku said with a slight sigh. He dropped into a proper martial arts stance, legs spread, hands raised, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. "All right, if talking won't work, I guess we do this the hard way. But I'm warning you, I'm about to get a lot stronger." "Your boasts mean nothing," Vader declared, and launched himself forward with force-enhanced speed. This time, Goku didn't dodge. He let his aura explode outward, white ki blazing like a star being born, and caught Vader's lightsaber between his hands. Zzz! The plasma blade screamed as it pressed against his ki-reinforced palms. Energy meeting energy in a collision that sent shockwaves rippling across the grassland. Vader's breathing hitched, just for a moment, as his sensors registered impossible data. The lightsaber, which could cut through blast doors and armor plating, was being held by bare skin. No, not just held. Stopped completely, as if pressing against durasteel rather than flesh. "See, the thing about lightsabers," Goku explained, his voice calm despite the tremendous energy required to stop the blade, "is they're made of energy. And I've spent my whole life learning to manipulate energy. Your sword is really impressive, but it's not that different from some of the techniques I've seen before." He twisted his hands, and the lightsaber flew from Vader's grip, spinning through the air. Goku caught it by the hilt, examined it with interest, then tossed it back. "Here, I don't need to take your weapon. That wouldn't be a fair fight." Vader caught his lightsaber through the Force, his tactical mind reeling. This anomaly had just demonstrated mastery over energy manipulation that rivaled the most powerful Force techniques. And he'd done it without touching the Force at all, using some other power source entirely. "You are a fool to grant me advantage," Vader said, but his tone had shifted, less certain, more calculating. "It's only an advantage if you're strong enough to use it," Goku replied. Then his expression grew serious, and the air around him began to distort from sheer pressure. "I told you I was about to get stronger. Watch." Golden light erupted from Goku's body. His hair shifted from black to blonde, standing on end as if caught in an eternal updraft. His eyes turned teal, and the aura around him transformed from white to brilliant gold. The ground beneath his feet cracked and cratered from the sheer power radiating outward. Every blade of grass for 50 meters flattened as if pressed by an invisible hand. Super Saiyan. The transformation sent shockwaves through the Force itself. Vader staggered, his connection to the dark side reeling as if struck. Through the Force, he could sense Goku's power had just multiplied, not doubled or tripled, but but increased 50-fold in an instant. The readings his suit was providing couldn't be accurate. Nothing living could contain that much energy. "This is Super Saiyan," Goku explained, his voice slightly different, more confident, carrying an edge it hadn't before. "It's a transformation my species can achieve. There are actually stronger forms, but I don't want to risk destroying the planet. This should be enough for a good match." Vader attacked without warning, recognizing that hesitation was death. He poured everything into the assault, lightsaber technique perfected over decades, the Force channeled with brutal efficiency, the dark side feeding on his rage and fear and pain. He was a whirlwind of crimson death, each strike capable of bisecting battle droids or cutting through reinforced armor. Clang, 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 clang. The Emperor's throne room on Coruscant was a cathedral of darkness. Shadows clung to every corner, held there by the dark side itself, and at the center sat Sheev Palpatine, the Sith Lord who'd orchestrated the fall of the Republic and the extinction of the Jedi. His face, hidden beneath the hood of his robe, remained impassive as he listened to Vader's report through the holographic connection. 3 Star Destroyers disabled, multiple squadrons lost, and you retreated. The Emperor's voice was soft, dangerous. "Explain to me, my apprentice, how a single being accomplished what entire rebel fleets have failed to achieve." Vader knelt in the hologram, his damaged armor still bearing scorch marks from the battle. "The anomaly possesses power beyond conventional understanding, Master. He does not draw from the Force, yet wields energy that can nullify Force techniques. His strength is considerable." "Considerable," the Emperor repeated, tasting the word. "Lord Vader, in all your years of service, I have never heard you describe an opponent with such restraint. Is there something you're not telling me?" Through their connection in the dark side, Palpatine could feel Vader's confusion, his doubt, the dangerous questions forming in his apprentice's mind. The anomaly had done more than defeat Vader in combat. He'd planted seeds of something far more threatening to the Sith. Compassion, mercy, the memory of who Anakin Skywalker had been. This could not stand. "I sense conflict in you, my apprentice," the Emperor continued, his tone shifting to false sympathy. "This being has confused you with his tricks and lies. But consider, he aligns himself with the rebellion. He destroys Imperial property. He threatens the order we have built together. Whatever power he possesses, whatever origin he claims, he is an enemy of the Empire and must be eliminated." "Yes, my master," Vader said, but his voice carried uncertainty that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. "I am dispatching the Executor to your location," Palpatine continued, "my personal superstar destroyer, with the full Inquisitorius and a fleet to support it. We will capture this anomaly, study his power, and bend it to serve the Empire. Or we will destroy him utterly. There is no third option." The hologram flickered and died, leaving Vader alone in the ruins of the Dantooine base. Around him, recovery crews worked to salvage what they could from the disabled Star Destroyers, and troopers searched for any remaining rebel intelligence. But Vader barely noticed. His mind replayed the battle, not the tactics or techniques, but the moment when Goku had offered his hand, when genuine concern had replaced battle fury, when mercy had been freely given to an enemy who'd shown none. It reminded him of Padme. The thought sent a lance of pain through him that had nothing to do with his injuries. Padme, who had believed in redemption, even as he'd been consumed by darkness. Padme, who had died believing there was still good in him. For years, he'd buried that memory beneath rage and the dark side, convinced himself that Anakin Skywalker and everything he'd cared about was dead. But Goku had seen through that lie in minutes, had looked at Darth Vader and seen someone worth saving. "What are you?" Vader whispered to the empty air. 3 days later, the message reached the Emperor's throne room. It had been routed through so many rebel intermediaries that its origin was untraceable, but its content was unmistakable. A challenge issued in Goku's name, proposing a meeting at coordinates of the Emperor's choosing, with the promise that Goku would come alone and face whatever forces Palpatine brought. The Emperor's yellow eyes gleamed with malevolent satisfaction as he read the transmission. "Arrogance," he hissed. "The anomaly believes his power makes him invincible. He will learn, as the Jedi learned, that there is no power greater than the dark side of the Force." He transmitted coordinates to a system that had been dead for millennia, Malachor, a place where an ancient Sith superweapon had scoured all life from existence, where the Force itself was twisted and corrupted, where darkness had accumulated like sediment for thousands of years. The perfect battlefield for what was to come. Goku arrived first, piloting a small shuttle Mira had provided. He'd spent the last 3 days training on a high-gravity moon, pushing his body to adapt fully to this universe's physics. The dimensional resistance was almost gone now. His ki flowed cleanly. His techniques responded without delay, and he could feel his power stabilizing at levels that would have been impossible when he'd first arrived. He set the shuttle down on the largest fragment of what had once been a planet, now just a massive asteroid floating in the void, its surface a plain of black glass created by unimaginable heat. When he stepped out onto the surface, the wrongness of the place hit him immediately. Not danger exactly, but corruption. The energy here, that Force energy everyone kept talking about, was sick, twisted, feeding on negativity like a cancer. "This is a really creepy place," Goku muttered, looking around at the desolate landscape. Broken Sith temples jutted from the glass like broken teeth, and in the distance he could see the skeletal remains of massive structures that might once have been cities or fortresses. "Feels like King Yemma's place, but worse." The sound of multiple ships entering atmosphere drew his attention skyward. First came the Imperial shuttles, dozens of them, carrying what looked like hundreds of red-armored warriors. The Inquisitors had arrived and they deployed in a wide circle around Goku's position, their lightsabers igniting in a crimson perimeter. Then came the Star Destroyers, 5 of them, taking up positions in orbit. Their weapons tracked Goku, ready to fire if given the order. TIE fighters swarmed like insects, blackening the red sky. Finally, the Executor emerged from hyperspace. The Superstar Destroyer was 8 times larger than a standard Imperial ship, a monument to the Empire's power and the Emperor's ego. It hung in the sky like a dagger pointed at the heart of the galaxy, and from its main hangar, a single shuttle descended. Goku watched with interest as the shuttle landed about 100 meters away. The boarding ramp lowered with hydraulic precision, steam venting into the toxic atmosphere. Darth Vader emerged first, his cape billowing, his presence in the Force like a wound in reality. Behind him came the Emperor himself. Sheev Palpatine looked almost frail, an old man in dark robes leaning on a cane, his face hidden beneath a hood. But Goku's instincts screamed danger, this being radiated power that made Vader look like a candle next to a bonfire. The corruption that permeated this entire system seemed to flow from and toward the Emperor simultaneously, as if he were both source and destination. of all the darkness here. So, the Emperor said, his voice carrying across the distance despite the thin atmosphere, you are the anomaly, the being that does not belong, the variable that threatens to disrupt the natural order I have spent decades perfecting. I'm Goku, Goku replied, walking forward until only 50 meters separated them. And I'm not trying to disrupt anything. I just don't like what your empire does, hurting innocent people, destroying planets, hunting anyone who's different. That's wrong, and someone needs to stop it. The Emperor's laugh was like dry leaves scraping against stone. Such righteousness, such certainty in your moral superiority. You sound remarkably like the Jedi before I exterminated them. Tell me, anomaly, what gives you the right to judge an entire galaxy? You are not of this place. You do not understand the forces that shape civilizations, the hard choices that maintain order. I don't need to understand politics to know murder is wrong, Goku said. You killed billions of people on Alderaan. That's evil, no matter how you try to justify it. Evil. The Emperor's tone shifted, becoming almost amused. Such a quaint concept. There is no good or evil, only power, and those too weak to seek it. The Jedi learned that lesson. The rebellion learns it daily, and you, anomaly from beyond our stars, will learn it now. He gestured, and the Inquisitors attacked as one. 23 Force users charged simultaneously, their lightsabers creating a web of crimson death. They moved with coordinated precision, each attack designed to exploit openings created by their fellows. It was a technique that had brought down rogue Jedi masters and entire rebel cells. Goku's aura exploded outward. To the watching Imperials, it looked like he simply disappeared and reappeared throughout the battlefield. One moment he was standing still. The next, Inquisitors were flying through the air, their lightsabers knocked from their hands, their bodies unconscious before they hit the ground. Goku didn't kill any of them, just disabled them with precise strikes that left them breathing but incapable of continuing the fight. In under 10 seconds, all 23 Inquisitors lay scattered across the black glass plain. Impressive, the Emperor observed, seemingly unconcerned by the loss of his hunters. But you've merely eliminated the weakest pieces on the board. Lord Vader, show this outsider the true power of the dark side. Vader ignited his lightsaber and walked forward. But Goku could sense the hesitation in him. The Dark Lord's heart, what remained of it, wasn't in this fight. The doubt that had taken root during their last battle had grown, fed by 3 days of meditation and memory. You don't have to do this, Goku called out to Vader. He's controlling you, keeping you in pain and anger because that's how he maintains power over you. But you're stronger than that. I saw it during our fight. You're still Anakin Skywalker underneath all the armor and darkness. Anakin Skywalker is dead, Vader said, but his mechanical voice carried less conviction than before. No, he's not, Goku insisted. He's right there, fighting to get out. I can sense it. You don't want to serve the Emperor. You want to be free. You want to find the person you used to be. The transmission went out across every HoloNet channel simultaneously, something that should have been impossible. But with rebel slicers and the sudden chaos in Imperial command structure, impossible became merely difficult. The message was simple. Emperor Palpatine had been defeated in single combat by an unknown warrior. The Sith Lord who'd ruled through fear for decades was in rebel custody. The war was over. It wasn't that clean, of course, it never was. Imperial loyalists refused to believe. Moffs scrambled to seize power in the vacuum, and entire sectors remained under authoritarian control for months. But the spine of the empire had been broken, and slowly, painfully slowly, the galaxy began to heal. Goku stayed for 6 weeks after the battle. He helped the rebellion transition into a provisional government, used his power to neutralize the most dangerous imperial holdouts without bloodshed, and trained several force sensitives in what he called energy control, teaching them to use the force without falling to darkness or rigid dogma. He was no Jedi master, but his simple philosophy resonated. Power exists to protect, not to dominate. Anakin Skywalker, no longer Vader, though the armor remained necessary to keep him alive, became an unexpected ally in the transition. His knowledge of Imperial infrastructure and personnel proved invaluable, and his public testimony about Palpatine's manipulation helped thousands of former Imperials find paths to redemption. The galaxy struggled to forgive him. Perhaps it never fully would, but he no longer sought forgiveness through service to darkness. He sought it through genuine atonement. Mon Mothma had been right about one thing. The Empire didn't fall in a day, but with the Emperor imprisoned, Vader redeemed, and a warrior from another universe showing them what true strength looked like. The New Republic had something it hadn't possessed in years: hope. On Goku's last day, before the rebel technicians' experimental dimensional gateway could activate, he stood with the people who'd become friends in this strange galaxy. Mira, who'd taught him to navigate a universe far more complicated than his own. Mon Mothma, who'd trusted him when trust seemed impossible. Anakin, who'd found himself again through a warrior's simple belief in redemption. And dozens of others. Rebels, former Imperials, civilians who'd seen that change was possible, even in a galaxy that had forgotten hope. "You sure you don't want to stay?" Mira asked, though she already knew the answer. "The New Republic could use someone like you, and I'm pretty sure you still haven't tried half the galaxy's cuisine." Goku laughed. "I've got people back home who are probably worried about me. Chi-Chi's definitely mad that I've been gone this long. And Vegeta, man, he's going to be so jealous when I tell him about fighting an emperor who could shoot lightning." He grew more serious. "But I'll miss this place. You people fought against impossible odds just because it was right. That's something special. You showed us that impossible odds could be beaten," Mon Mothma replied. "Not through anger or hatred, but through strength tempered with mercy. The Jedi forgot that lesson in their final years, and it cost them everything. Perhaps the new generation of Force users will remember it, thanks to you." Anakin stepped forward, his breathing still mechanical but somehow less ominous than it had been. "Goku, thank you for seeing what everyone else, including myself, thought was dead, for proving that redemption is possible, for—" His voice caught. "For reminding me of the woman I loved, who believed in me when I didn't deserve it." "You always deserved it," Goku said firmly. "Everyone deserves a chance to be better. That's just how I see things." He offered his hand, and Anakin shook it. One warrior to another, one redeemed soul acknowledging another's journey. The dimensional gateway hummed to life, reality tearing open in familiar golden light. Through it, Goku could sense his universe, could feel key signatures that were achingly familiar. Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Bulma, home. "May the Force be with you," Mon Mothma said, the old Jedi blessing given new meaning. "And may your ki always flow strong," Goku replied with a grin. He stepped towards the portal, then paused. "Oh, and if you ever figure out interdimensional communication, look me up. I'd love to spar with Anakin once he's fully healed. I bet without all that dark side corruption, he'd be incredibly strong. I'll work on it, Anakin promised, and something that might have been his first genuine smile in 20 years crossed his scarred features. Goku waved one last time, then stepped through the portal. The gateway collapsed behind him with a sound like thunder, and he was gone, back to his universe, his battles, his simple life of training and protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. The people of the Star Wars galaxy stood in silence for a moment, processing everything that had changed. Then slowly they returned to the work of rebuilding, carrying with them the lesson that power didn't have to corrupt, that mercy wasn't weakness, and that sometimes the most unexpected heroes came from the most impossible places. In a small apartment on Coruscant, a young boy who'd been rescued from Imperial servitude looked up at the stars and wondered if he too could become strong enough to protect people, not through fear or hatred, but through training and determination. The seed Goku had planted would grow in unexpected ways. On Tatooine, an old hermit named Obi-Wan Kenobi felt a disturbance in the Force that could only be described as hopeful. Perhaps the Jedi way wasn't the only path to using the Force for good. Perhaps flexibility and compassion, rather than rigid dogma, was the true balance the galaxy needed. He smiled beneath his hood, thinking of a young farm boy he would one day train. Luke would need to know this story, and deep in space aboard the wandering star, Mira looked at the data she'd collected on Goku's energy signatures and dimensional travel. She was an information broker by trade, but also an engineer by passion. Interdimensional communication seemed impossible now. But then again, so had defeating the Emperor. She pulled up the schematics and began to work. Maybe, she thought, just maybe we'll see him again. The galaxy far, far away had been changed forever by a warrior from beyond its stars, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple act of being exactly who he was, a pure-hearted fighter who believed in protection over destruction, redemption over revenge, and the fundamental truth that with great power came not the right to rule, but the responsibility to serve. The legend of the Golden Warrior would spread across generations, embellished, mythologized, debated by historians who could never quite agree on what had really happened. But those who'd been there, who'd seen Goku fight, and heard him laugh, and watched him offer his hand to fallen enemies, they knew the truth. Sometimes the greatest power in the universe wasn't the Force or technology or political cunning. Sometimes it was simply the courage to stand up and say, "No more," backed by the strength to make that statement mean something. And sometimes, just sometimes, that courage came from a Saiyan warrior in an orange Jai who'd fallen through the stars and decided to help, simply because it was the right thing to do. The galaxy would remember, and in remembering, it would strive to be better. Goku materialized on King Kai's planet in a burst of golden light. Whoosh! Stumbling slightly as the familiar 10x gravity reasserted itself. The dimensional gateway had deposited him exactly where his instant transmission had malfunctioned weeks ago. "Goku!" King Kai's antennae shot up in surprise. "You're back! We've been searching everywhere. Vegeta's been absolutely insufferable, claiming you ran away from your sparring match." Sorry, Goku laughed, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. "I kind of got pulled into another universe. Long story. Is everyone okay?" "Everyone's fine, you idiot." Vegeta's voice crackled over King Kai's communicator. "Get back to Earth now so I can pound you into the dirt for making me wait 3 weeks." Goku grinned. Some things never changed. As he raised 2 fingers to his forehead to teleport home, he paused, looking back at the space where the dimensional rift had closed. Somewhere out there, in a galaxy far, far away, people were learning to be free again. Anakin was learning to forgive himself, and an entire civilization was discovering that hope wasn't just for fairy tales. "May the Force be with you guys," Goku whispered. Then he vanished, returning to his universe, to Chi-Chi's scolding, to Vegeta's challenges, to Gohan's studies and Goten's training and Bulma's inventions and all the beautiful chaotic normalcy of home. But he would never forget the galaxy that had taught him that even the darkest places could find light again. All they needed was someone willing to believe it was possible. In the Jedi Temple, rebuilt but different now, more open, a young student raised her hand. "Master Skywalker, is it true? The story about the Golden Warrior from beyond the stars." Anakin Skywalker, his mechanical limbs updated, his armor replaced with simple Jedi robes, his face no longer hidden, smiled at the younglings gathered around him. "Every word of it," he said. "I fought him, I lost, and he showed me mercy when I deserved none. He reminded me that strength without compassion is just another form of weakness." "Will he ever come back?" another student asked. Anakin looked out the temple window at the stars beyond, infinite, mysterious, full of possibilities. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I hope so. The galaxy could always use more heroes, like Son Goku." In the corner of the training room, a holocron Mira had constructed flickered to life, still not quite functional, but closer each year. Someday, Anakin thought, someday we'll figure it out. And in the Force, or perhaps in something beyond even the Force, an echo of laughter rippled across dimensions, pure, joyful, unstoppable, the laugh of a Saiyan who'd saved 2 universes simply because someone had to, and because helping people was just what he did.